there is a distinct difference between being the head coach and the assistant coach. There's a very big difference. An assistant coach, assistant coach, you're on the tools all the time. You're setting up training, you're planning training, you're delivering training. A head coach, coaching is only part of the job, and you've got your finger in so many other pies at the club, and that can be including managing a budget depending on the club that you are in, and it can be including meeting with sports scientists and making the final decision on what sports scientists do with your players. You're the one who has to sign it off.
Yeah, I take that point, Lee, but my point is about the organisation itself, the Dragons. If Flanagan doesn't fit within their values as a head coach, why does he fit within their values as an assistant?
I've just answered that. I think it's very different. So if Donald Trump isn't the president of the United States, he can't press the nuclear button. If he's the deputy, he can't press the nuclear button.
Yeah, but it still gets back to the fact that they either trust him or they don't.
But I don't think every NRL club is full of people that the CEO and the chairman completely trust.
But why wouldn't you just
that's part of the problem.
Why wouldn't you put, if you understand that he's a good coach, the X's and Y's, he's a head coach. There's no question marks over that. He won a premiership.
Yeah.
So therefore, putting the structures in place, so all he has to do that he's got control over is the X's and the Y's, and put in a football manager that looks after those things that there's a huge question mark over.
Again, I mean, we're going to go full circle here on this Dragons special, but again, apparently media reports, it comes back to the board in that Peter Doust is allegedly vehemently against Flano. Yeah. So again, I mean, that is, I mean, I don't see anything. And even if he did do something wrong, I think he's done his time now anyway. So, I'm just trying to suggest the difference, if you like, Chris, between the assistant and the head coach, that you just don't have.
And I get that.
You don't have the keys to the castle.
I totally get that. But if you've got an organisation that has values and you want a certain calibre of person on your staff, it doesn't matter whether they're the kid at the front desk or the head coach.
But again,
you're good enough to hire in an organisation.
It also depends on the crime, doesn't it? I mean, these same organisations employ players that have been accused of things as well, and some of them have been incarcerated before, and they go back into the club, but they don't get the keys to the castle. And that's the difference. They are managed. That again is weak leadership. They are managed rather than the manager.
And again, it's weak leadership. It's the Dragons all over, and not only the Dragons. And there's another merged club that's got very poor leadership as well. But
look, I don't necessarily think having Shane Flanagan around as assistant coach is poor leadership. I think you manage that person in that area. And I know what you're saying, Chris. If you can't trust that person, why are they in the organisation? I just think that Shane Flanagan had the keys to the city before. He done magically when he had the keys to the city, but there was an area where something went wrong. And, if you say, right, mate, I'm not going to give you the keys to the city, you just have to worry about this block. This is what you're good at, that block. That's your area. Well, then there's no more question marks. There's no anything. Everyone's happy. They go about their business. And there's no question marks. That's when you give the keys to the city again. That's when the problem comes.
One of the analogies you can use is a school. Being in a classroom or being the head of department carries a lot less in terms of pressure, in terms of responsibility, than being the principal. Being the deputy carries a lot less. So if there's a problem at the school that's serious, the principal is the one that is responsible for it, not the deputy, not the HOD, even if it might have been in that department. It's the principal on it. And I guess that's is that your topic covered, Taylor? Did you bring up a topic then, or did Chris interrupt?
No, I interrupted, and I'm going to interrupt one more time and say that if you think
it's cranky, isn't it?
If you think that not giving Flanagan the keys to the city, or however you phrased it, they're not going to get Desi Hasler without handing over a whole bunch of keys, because Desi Hasler will want to run the whole show.
Yeah, but Desi doesn't have a history.
Sorry, Taylor. How do you know that? How do you know Des hasn't reflected on why he lost the job at Manly and at the Dogs, I think, by all accounts, and knows now that he's not going to get another unless he gives a little bit back.
I don't know for sure, Lee, but I would be very confident in saying I don't think Desi would accept a job, particularly at politically charged club like.
Okay, all right.
Dragons.
Next question. Who's got a better track record, Des Hasler or Shane Flanagan? And who's not been banned from the game?
Yeah. And that's...
So if you're giving the keys to one or the other, I know just
I'd be giving
based
one
on
to Des.
that, I know who I'd rather give the keys to. And
I just don't think St George Illawarra will give the keys to anyone.
I think they need to.
They might need to, but what about 25 years of history?
I know. But did they not give the keys to Wayne Bennett?
He hasn't been mentioned in this conversation, though. I don't think.
No, but he got there and won a premiership, Chris. And what I'm saying is that when they did do that, when they gave the keys to someone, or as much as gave the keys to someone, he got them to a premiership. If you're going to give the keys to anybody else, it's somebody like a Gus Gould, who's won a couple of premierships. The Penrith and Canterbury have both given Gus the keys. And I think Des Hasler is in that mould a little bit with his premiership history, premiership winning history. But also, he's been in a couple of grand finals with Canterbury too that nobody else has managed to do in the last since Steve Folkes. And people forget with Des, I'm not a huge, I'm not sitting here saying, I'm not in the Des corner, if you like. I'm just trying to see where fair's fair and where there's a good fit. Des got hold of Manly just after the Northern Eagles debacle. The club was an absolute mess. They had no players. You can talk about the basket case that Gus and Tim Sheens have inherited at their relative clubs. When Des went back to Manly, the club hadn't existed for a couple of years. It was the Northern Eagles, and he had to rebuild it from scratch in many ways. And their roster at the time and the facilities that it had and whatnot, he absolutely rebuilt that club from, I won't say nothing because it wasn't nothing, but so Des has done so well.
But that was 20 years ago.
It was.
And it wasn't a merged club.
But also, pardon?
It wasn't a merged club that he went.
No,
back
it was an unmerged club.
Exactly, and they were looking for answers.
Didn't play or exist for a couple of years.
I think. Yeah. Do you honestly think St George Illawarra are going to let Des in and give him carte blanche?
They should give him more. What?
Do you think they will? Not should they do?
Actually,
but do you think they will?
I did not say they were going to give him carte blanche or the keys. What I did say was that there'd got to be somebody in terms of football who they listen to. The football department. And I think right now they've got a coach that they like to question a little bit, because what has Anthony Griffin won? The ultimate thing is they employed a coach who's not got that many runs on the board in the NRL. If you think about it, he didn't break a load of pots when he was the Brisbane Broncos coach. He did okay at Penrith. He's not really done okay at the Dragons, has he? Great conversation. No. Keep it going.
I think Des, as you said, is a part of an ilk of coach that you sort of can give the keys to the city to based on their history. I don't think there's many. I think Craig Bellamy's one. Actually, it doesn't even have to be coach. It'd be characters of the game. I think Bellamy's one. As you mentioned, Gould's another. Of just people that can come in, you can give them the keys, and they've done these sorts of things before. Bennett's another. I'd say Ricky Stewart's one with his track record and his amount of years in coaching.
And he's got the keys to Canberra, basically, Ricky.
And he's got the keys to Canberra. And then I'd say probably as well is Des Hasler. Probably not on the tier as Gus Gould as Wayne Bennett, but very, very close second tier there.
Well, he's won as many premierships as Gus Gould.
Yeah. So
as a coach,
and that might be exactly what the Dragons need, because the last time they had success was Bennett, who had that sort of setup. But you're right, Chris. Whether the club has the foresight to do that is another question. And I think you're right in saying I don't think they do. I would not be surprised if Hook goes and you see them, instead of getting Jason Riles, I would not be surprised at all if someone like a Dean Young or a Ben Hornby from up North Queensland Cowboys came back, because it was the return of the prodigal sons who were coaching there, and they know all about the Dragons. And
but has that worked in the past?
No, I agree with you. I don't think it has. I don't think it has. But
well, look what happened to Mary McGregor. It's all well and good when they're winning, but as soon as they start losing, they'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know which. I think, first of all, they need to get a football manager in who knows football. I think the modern game, and you look at the good modern clubs, they've got a football, especially clubs that are rebuilding. Penrith rebuilt, so they had Gus Gould come in. Obviously, Canterbury are rebuilding now. They had Gus Gould come in. The Broncos finally started moving forward when Ben Ikin come in. You know, you look at North Queensland. North Queensland were good when they moved Peter Parr across. And Peter Parr worried about that. And you're seeing the things in there.